Hey ratbags, the make it or break it update is live on the PTB, or will be very soon, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on every gadget and gizmo, or exactly what they do, with some small examples. I'll probably be doing a whole bunch of smaller guides with lots more details and examples, but this is really just the first look at all the different gadgets and gizmos that you'll be using to make amazing maps, amazing creations in the new grounded update, which of course is coming for everyone on the 13th of November. So I don't often ask properly. I would really appreciate if you hit a like if you find this video useful, and look out, I'm going to be having my own world set up. I want you to come join my Discord and share your curations and your codes, and you'll get first sneak peek at any maps that I make if you're a Discord member today. Let's go, the make it and break it gizmos and gadgets showcase. Okay, so let's get started. I've got a few already set up, and then the rest of them we're going to go through as I make them. Starting with all the buttons, switches and volumes and exactly what they do and how they can interact. I've got a button here, I've got the connection pressing it to this laser cannon. And as you might guess, woo! There we go. Pretty simples. You can change the colour of all of these buttons, and a button is probably the most simplest thing to do or use. No timers, no extra switches or actions, it just activates whatever you've got it connected to. A switch with a door, you get the idea. Here there's 3 different behaviours or 3 options you can have. Opening the door, closing the door, locking and unlocking doors, or toggling it open and shut. To make things a little bit more interesting and having doors lock or close on their own, you can go LB on the actual door itself, tell it needs a specific key, and now you can see we need that red key to gain access. You have got to be a little bit more careful about what order you put commands in, and just think logically. If something is closed, if something is locked, then the first thing you've got to do is tell it to be unlocked. You've got various different options here, but these definitely require a separate video to go through all the uses, but that's the basics of a switch. We could also lock the door, and it should mean that when we turn the switch on, it opens the door and then it will lock it in place. And there you go. So even when you turn it off, the door's still going to be there because we haven't got a command telling it to unlock. Obviously you can use these on all sorts of different ways. We create a link to the cannon. The game recognises what you're trying to do. So it's using different terminology now like activate, and it's pretty simple. So we're going to have activate on and off every time we flick the switch. So there you go, that's what you can do with a lever switch. A switch is pretty much going to work in the same way. Turn it on to activate something like a torch or brazier. Turn it off, turn it off. Then we've got the pull switch. And this is going to act just pretty much like the rest. You can have another light with this one, creating a link, and it's going to do the same job as turning it on or toggling the light. But you will notice that some torches have the ability to go ahead and customize. You can't customize the color of the brazier light, I do believe, but you can customize this one. So when setting up a link, not only can we turn it on, but we can choose how we want it to turn either brightness and color. And there you go. Difference between a pull switch and a lever or a regular switch is you can't use it to link actions. It's just simply on, off or toggle. It doesn't have the rest of toggle activated, activate or deactivate. Then we've got a pressure plate. We can hook it up to a door. Of course, the big difference with a pressure plate is it only works when you stand on it. That's the idea anyway. But you need to customize the pressure plate as well. It's got 3 settings, low, medium and high. And you can see for a player, it's low. You put it on medium or high, you're not going to be heavy enough to activate it. So you can see it's not working. Maybe if I drop a bunch of pebbles, you can see 2 pebbles will activate the pressure plate. We customize it again and put high. You You can see it's going to be 4 pebbles this time. So I'm sure other items might be heavier or lighter, and they may do the same job, but you get the idea. Now we're moving on to a little bit more complicated stuff. Timers. So if we set up a new laser cannon, then we're going to put a brand new timer down, create the link. And so now every time time elapses, it's going to activate the cannon. We can customize how long that will be by pressing LB on the timer itself rather than the link. And we can repeat it. And there you go. Everlasting traps. As said, we can adjust how long it lasts, and we don't have to have it on repeat. We could also choose to put a delay on the timer. So say we've got 4 seconds to get out of the way before the ball gets us. Timer starting. There you go. Then we've got transmitters and receivers. If you don't want 200 blue arrows going all the way across the map, you can have one just of these arrows connecting before you make your junctions and set something else up. So maybe you've pulled a switch to open up a bunch of doors in another laboratory. Then you go ahead and place your transmitter. You make it activate the switch when it's pressed to the transmitter. When you first see it, it will be a grey arrow connecting your transmitter to the receiver. So that means there's no signal. You have to make sure the transmitter and the receiver are on the same channel. So you customize this and you put it on 1. This will stop maybe lots of receivers doing the same action if they've all been set to the same number. And then we go over to the receiver. It's on channel 1, and then the link. It's going to unlock the door and toggle it open. As you can see at the moment, the door is locked. Pull the switch and the door opens. Next we've got trigger volumes. Pretty much if a player steps in it or steps out, it's going to trigger. The spear trigger option is the same, but obviously just in a circle. So if we get maybe a best special effect, place it there, create a link to it. So now it's going to activate whenever we go in this box. It's invisible, obviously, and there you go. Obviously you could customize the effect, and you can customize the size of the area, making it pretty long, 10 grid units, 10 wide and 10 high. So that's a pretty big space. As soon as I go in it, it's activating. Come out and go in again, it's activated. So this would be obviously more probably appropriate to use with maybe bug spawners, which we'll get to soon. Then we've got blocking volume. You don't want players to go to a certain area, well then this is what this is for. Again, once you placed one, you can go and customize it and make it bigger. In fact, it might be easier to do that. And then just go ahead and relocate it. Now you can see I can't go forward. I can jump on it. Then we've got the biometric scanner, and obviously you would use this just to link up a simple door or other stuff. Let's create a link to the door, click on the link. First we are going to unlock it and then toggle open. Just remember, sometimes if you do move something, it may actually get rid of the link, so you may have to do it again. And there you go. It does have a one-time only use, so very good for getting into dungeons. But you could potentially link it so it can only open with certain requirements. Then we got the burgle flag. This is simply just a way to raise a flag and have you doing another action that you can then trigger to other stuff, like give yourself more equipment. So connect the flag up, so you can put a trinket inside here and an armor set. So there we go. I'm going to hold to raise flag. Once it's complete, it should equip me with that armor, just like that. This is something I've always wanted in survival mode. As I said in the first video talking about it, it'd be great if we could have this added as an unlock. 5,000 raw science, but only after you have got maybe either 100% or defeated the last base defense, or make it part of the unlocks for killing Schmector. It's pretty simple. You place 2 down and then you change the channel to make sure it's okay. This way you can have up to 100 different pairs of teleporters in your map. So as long as channel 1 is matching this teleporter with channel 1, we'll be able to go ahead and teleport. And it's such a cool effect, look at that. Then we've got a fan. This is really cool, look at that. And they push you pretty high. And if you want to land, well, hopefully you can land on a bounce pad or the landing pad. This is the new bounce pad they've added. It's called the Super Bounce Pad. I feel like it's probably just about the same as a regular, but you can see you can adjust the height, which I don't think you can do with a regular anymore. So yeah, make sure you've got some of these. You can show the arrow as well to really signify where players need to go. Then we're moving on to some really cool stuff, like this scoreboard. So you can change the colour of obviously the numbers. And this is where you're going to be obviously using a lot more complicated features. Of course, the most typical one might be something like obviously using a basketball hoop. You create a link from the basketball hoop to the scoreboard, and you can see we've got increments, so it'll go up by score every time someone scores. We can have decrements, so every time you score someone loses a point, and again you can choose to customize it so it changes color as well. So we're going to use the RT button. That's going to give us a bit more of a gentle throw. You tap it, you throw it just a little bit, and the longer you hold RT, the further you throw it. And apparently I cannot play basketball. Yay! And there you go. The scoreboard has turned. So next up we've got power-ups. You've got move speed, attack up, defense up, heal player, attack speed up, life steal, heal on kill, berserker, water breathing, gas immunity. So all very much geared towards sort of PvP or arena battles. You can have a respawn on timer or not, so it only activates once. And you can have them turned on or off and choose exactly how long they take to respawn. So you can see it's still on screen. And now I've got movement speed up, which is pretty fast. So that's really going to be good to play around with, especially for player versus player, or yeah, gauntlets against bugs. Next we've got more traps. Obviously I've shown off the cannon, and we've got the laser pillar and the shock pillar. You can choose how long the laser pillar will actually fire for. It is a trigger, so I do believe it might not necessarily stop just because you have pressed stop on it. I'm sure there might be a switch system or button system that you could rig that up. And then we've got the shock pillar as well, and it's the same deal. So you can see with this switch, it's just simply going to activate both of them. Ooh. And then we've got a whole bunch of different spawners, music changers and speakers. The speaker's going to play the sound effects, and the music changer will change the music to a particular track. So you can mix up having a boss fight maybe spawn with the right music. So you've got all the different versions of all the songs for all the biomes. We can hook up them traps that are turning on at the same time, and it's going to turn on the combat music. You can also hook it up as well to have a cool little sound effect maybe. Let's try the adult boo. Ooh. You get the idea with that one. Then we've got quest marker. You can show distances of quests to players on the map. Change the display mode to only far, only near or always, and then choose what marker you want for it. So once you put the sign, you can also change the writing. And now you can see it says go here. So this is how you can direct players in and around the whole map. Then we've got player spawn. And there you go, you can see I've respawned since I've set it to my character. Of course, the big one is the creature spawner. You can choose absolutely any character in the game, including orcs as well as bosses. and how many spawn at once, with 10 spawning if you really wanted to. So obviously we've got a button, we can link it to it, and then the choices are spawn creatures or despawn creatures. So this will probably work very well with the volume one, but for today I'm just going to show you what it's like with this. And there you go. We've got effects spawners as well. There's all sorts again here, and you get to see exactly what happens with each one of them. You can also turn off the sound. Then we've got time of day. So again, little switch. So let's try that, and there you go. But just like everything, you need to make sure you program it so that in an off state you can turn it back to regular. Then we've got equipment and inventory filler. Might be a way to work these with switches, but probably one of the easiest ways is by doing it by going into an area. So again, let's grab a small area here. We've got equipment inside here, the gear, and then we can go ahead and put a bunch of this stuff inside the inventory filler. Make a link. So it should grant items to me as soon as I walk into this area. And there you go. Definitely works better with an actual spear or square rather than maybe a switch. And you can pretty much put anything that you can get in your backpack inside the inventory filler. Give more upgrade rocks. You get the idea. And then we got raw science. At the moment there's nothing to link the raw science or do anything with it. You're simply just having it in the world. But it would be good if you could link it in the future to hopefully set up more raw science respawning or popping out of maybe something like a cannon or even pressing a button. And of course you've got a small raw science too. So that's nearly it for all the gadgets and gizmos, but I've left the 3 most complicated ones till last. So what you have is a counter with conditions, a switch gate, and a switch gizmo. So here I've got 3 switches and I've got a door. I've got the switches going to the counter with condition, then the counter with condition activates the door. When we look at the counter with condition, we can choose to have it equal, greater or less. So you could hook it up to a basketball. Once the score's more than 5, it would then open up the door. Or if you take items away, then it would be less than the number would activate and equal opening up the door. Like I said, it's not my complete forte this, so I'm going to go through it a little bit more and learn. I can't wait to get into it. But this is pretty much the basics. You can see the link here is going to open up the doorway, and these are all just going to increment. There's decrement, reset as well inside, and we just press all switches now. It opens the door. So you can create puzzle rooms a lot with this stuff. Then we've got the switch gate. It's kind of similar to the increment one, but it is making things a bit easier in terms of maybe puzzle rooms. When you look at it, it's got various different states, any, all, at least, or only one. So you can still have it pretty much set up that all 3 switches need to be pressed to open a door, and then make one connection to the door itself, and then you adjust the any state to make it all. So 1, 2, 3. But you'll notice that to keep the door open, we need all 3 activated. We can change it so it's any switch, or we can have it set at least 1 or whatever number it is you want. So let's do 2. There you go. So again, really good if you're making a puzzle room. And of course the last one is only 1. When you set this up, any of the switches will work. With this only 1 feature though, you will be able to change and customize and make more complicated puzzles. That's going to be for another time, or someone better equipped at giving you their logic tutorial. And then you've got the switch gizmo, which is just basically an invisible switch. So if you don't want to actually be putting all of these kinds of switches on the floors and stuff, it's just a quick and easy one to use behind the scenes that players won't see. And there you go, pretty mammoth video taking a look at all of these. Like I said, I am not the biggest expert, especially when it comes to the logic, but I'm going to get better because I really want to make some cool maps. There's so many applications for this, I can't wait to test them all. So look out for, like I said, creative maps from me incoming, and me hopefully taking a look at some of your creative maps. Until next time, ratbags, laters.